you both have history in a way, like when you were doing the Year That Punk Broke film. So how did you, the band Dinosaur, I mean Murph and everybody, was Murph there on tour?
Yeah.
How was that at the time, like, for you, like, filming them or just as characters? In combination with the whole other chaos with Kurt Cobain and Sonic Youth?
Well, I just sort of filmed the shows. I think the first one was Reading, right? If I remember right, I just sort of, filmed. Filmed Reading, and I filmed Pukal Pop, and there might have been another festival I'm forgetting about that you played at. And I was just sort of there, and I was just capturing what I could. I had a finite amount of film with me, a suitcase full of Super 8 film. I couldn't. It's like now you can shoot digital. You could just shoot nonstop. Back then, you had these little cartridges that ran 2.5 minutes, and then I had the larger one that could run 15 minutes continuously. And I just sort of had to, on the fly, manage what I was doing as I was doing it. So none of it was really planned out or coordinated. And whatever I got. I just sort of remember being blown away when these guys were on stage at Reading in '91, going like, "God damn, the whole crowd's singing along." I wasn't aware that you guys had that thing going over there in the UK. Like, I didn't realize that you guys were so huge, and it was like fucking pretty impressive to witness that. And
what was maybe the weirdest situation you've been during that time with this band? Like, was there weird backstage action or Kurt?
The weird stuff was probably like years before '91. Like, I got a funny story. I was in this band, Painted Willie. And we had a show booked with you guys in this fucking strip mall club in Orange County, named after a Bob Seger song, Night Moves. And like we were there, and you were there. Like, you guys sound checked, we sound checked, And then like they opened the doors, and no one came through the door. The show was just like over, and these guys were sitting in their van. And it was just like, to me, that was like the really my weird Dinosaur Jr. story, because it was just complete cave, complete fiasco, And that was like, that was like Spaceman, or I don't know if it was Jordan, Jordan, like an old friend of mine, like,
and like our record was supposed to come out before the tour, and it still wasn't out yet.
That was Bug, wasn't it?
No, I think it was
You're Living All Over Me?
I think it wasn't out yet.
How was the interaction during the '91 punk rock between the band Sonic Youth and Kurt Cobain? They were fans? Like, were they sticking around the band and all hanging out, or what?
Nirvana were like totally like amazed to be sharing the stage with Sonics and Dinosaur. I mean, I remember Chris wore the Dinosaur shirt every day on that tour, like, didn't wash, like huge. They were totally enamored, and I think if you look at that movie, it's the only time it's only documented footage I've ever seen of Cobain smiling. It's the only time I've seen Cobain having fun. I mean, that's the thing about that movie. It's just like that brief window before their world just completely changed. It was still like, that movie for me, it was like coming out of the 80s. And we all had connections before, with SST or before that, even hardcore, I was in this band, Sin 34, and Jay was in the band Deep Wound, as I'm sure you know. And I mean, we were sort of on different coasts, and, probably had the same cassette compilations of all these bands from all over the world, whether it be, the Neos or Dayglow Abortions or whatnot. Just, I mean, going back to that, and
that was pen pals with the Neos.
I remember you telling me that. I was really kind of impressed by that. And also huge fan of your drumming. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's amazing just how informal it all was totally also very ill-prepared or not planned. And the fact that that turned into anything, the fact that it got released was pretty amazing. What do you remember about those shows?
I just remember, it was like, it was kind of like the rocket taking off. You can feel Nirvana. It was like,
Did you think Nirvana was really, were you surprised or not?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was just happy that they seem like they should be huge, and then they get huge. Like something made sense for a second. Like, oh yeah, that's cool.
It's true. It was the one pop culture moment that, it was, I guess, the Beatles moment for, our peer group or friends or extended friends or like-minded bands. Like the fact that, I remember I got a cassette of that record, like the second day of that tour of Nevermind, and I listened to it on my Sony Walkman. And I knew some of the songs because I'd seen them with you guys, and I'd seen them with the Sonics, and of course they had Dale Crover, playing drums, I think. And then I think it was just like something about the Grohl thing just made it like solidified it. And
I remember having this cheesy manager back then, and I said, "Oh yeah, I want Nirvana to open for us on this tour." Who are they? Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, I want them to open for us, so maybe when they get huge, we can open for them." He's like, "What are you talking about? What is this band?" So I said,
who was the manager?
I don't remember, some goofy guy in LA. I remember the big manager.
Was it your first post-ST stab at like attempting to have someone manage you guys, or?
It was our first major. We were on the major label, and they said you have to get a manager. It was kind of the first attempt at having a manager, and it didn't really work out.
Those things never do, really,
They managed like B-52s and Brian Ferry.
Could you both maybe sum up in a few sentences what this club was about, the history? It's kind of could be cool for the...
Well, I'm not an East Coaster. Maybe Jake could do that better.
In hardcore, just every Discord band was playing at the 930 Club, so it seemed like this cool, legendary place back then when you're in high school at the 930 Club. The Faith is playing. Void and Minor Threat.
What do you think?
So I think it's
Right on.
All right. Ready? Sounds good.
Looks good. It's exciting, Philly. You have competition tonight, Philly.
I'm not a competition person. That's